Hey everyone. Hi. We're here. We're live. So, welcome in. Today we will talk a little bit about our transitional seasonal reset. I'm going to give folks a few minutes to enter. So, hello to those of you who are already here. We've got a live chat box going as well. So, if you have questions at any moment, please feel free to enter them into the chat. If you just want to say hi and tell us where you're joining from, that's always fun to kind of just see who's here and where you are from. So please do feel free to start that. Maybe somebody could just say something, that way I know you're here. Could someone just say hi? There we go. Hi, Janelle. Thank you. All right. Well, let's begin because this is going to be recorded. So for those of you who are listening, I don't want to keep you waiting too long. So I always like to start by stopping. I think it's a really nice practice before we enter into a new space, especially when we're going to be talking about topics and subjects that matter to us, to just sort of take a moment and set ourselves in that space and be open to listen, to learn, to receive, to reflect. And that happens best when we're really actually fully here. So if you have other screens open, I invite you to close them. Just take a moment with me right now and close your eyes if you can, or just let your gaze turn into something very, very soft and easy. And we will center ourselves together right here, right now. I like to do it by deepening my breath and feeling my breath move throughout my whole body, and taking notice of what's happening inside my body, and taking notice of what's happening around my body, outside of me. So what is happening in the space, both inside the room I'm in and what is happening in the space outside of the wall. So what's happening outside in nature. So see if you can just do a little scan, moving from your centermost place and letting that attention move to the outermost spaces. And if we were all sitting together in a circle, this would be it'd be different because we would be here physically. So when we're online, I think we need to even more, we need to ground even a little bit more. So let's take one more big breath in and a big breath out. All right. So welcome in again. My name is Ashley Marie Ellenboss, and I am a clinical herbalist. I've been practicing herbalism for, like 17 years now. But I've been a student of the plants since I was little, running around in the woods, mixing potions and washing trees and figuring out the language of the world that we live in. And this is a language that speaks in many different ways through the plants and how they grow. This language speaks through the seasons, through the animals, through dreams. There's so many different ways that we are being communicated to, and we are able to commune with this very rich part of this very rich reality that we're a part of. And today we'll be talking about the seasons, and specifically the transition from right now, which is considered to be late summer, into autumn, and the symbols that are present right outside of our windows right now, like in the flesh, in the dirt. What is happening right now, and how can it inform us for how to prepare for what's next? And our ancestors and ancestors and ancestors have been doing this work of really paying attention to what's happening outside and internalizing that, creating rituals to prepare us for where we're going. And where we're headed is a much cooler and a much drier place seasonally, at least here on the northern hemisphere. So as we look outside right now, in Chinese medicine, in the 5-element system, they would call this late summer, which is the shortest of all of the seasons. And it's a transitionary season. And so if we look outside, it's not summer anymore. Like the fullness of summer is starting to wane, but it's not autumn yet. The leaves aren't falling. There's not apples. We're not into that season yet. So this season of late summer is when we have those hot spells. You've the weather's been cooling and then you get this really hot patch. And late summer is also when the garden is at its fullest. Like right now, finally, my tomatoes are starting to come into bloom here in Minnesota. We've had a pretty mild summer, but it's like everything is just going wild right now. This is the time of the harvest, or if, depending on what you grow, different things are sort of coming into their fullness. But there's this feeling of abundance, and that's related to the Earth Mother. And I think that's why this season was given the element of earth, because it's a very abundant, mothering, fertile energy, and creating this nourishment for what we need to go into the darker seasons and the darker months ahead. So this moment can be a little bit deceiving because some of us think summer will last forever. It's kind of like la 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 la, like I don't want to hear about winter yet, because there's such a sense of warmth and excitement and joy and fire. The element of fire is so dominant in the summertime. But as we turn to earth, we start to become a little bit more grounded, a little more stable, a little bit more reflective. And this is a really good time of year to just kind of pause and savor. And that's one thing that I wanted to talk about today that we can all do a little more of right now, which is the act of savoring. So the next piece of fruit you eat or vegetable that you eat that is fresh from the vine or fresh from the farmer's market or fresh from your produce section, I want you to just take an extra beat and savor it and really let your body soak in all the subtle textures and flavors and really feel what this is doing in your body as well. And you can savor other things as well. Like right now, I'm savoring my purple petunias, and I love growing petunias in pots along my front walkway. And so I'm just savoring them because I've been babying them all summer, picking off the dead ones, the dying ones, watering them sometimes twice a day. Like I care for them. And I'm just looking at them saying, oh, my sweet purple petunias, like it's almost over. Our time together is almost to a close. So every time I walk by them, my heart wells up and there's this feeling of gratitude. And a little tinge of sadness, which I think is okay to acknowledge too. We might all be feeling a little bit of the sadness because, we know that either if you're a parent and your kids are going back to school, we know the school year is going to start, or we know that the light's going to start to wane, and you can probably already start to see it outside. The quality of light is changing. The days are getting a little bit darker, and there's a grief that comes with that. But we can savor that grief too. There's like a sweetness, and the element of earth, the taste that is associated with earth is sweetness. So as much as we can right now, today, savor and find sweetness. And in all the feelings, all the things that come up, just can you take a moment of savoring what is present, what is here, what is still growing, what is still alive, and what is sweet. And that in itself is an act that will prepare us for autumn when things start to get a little drier and a little cooler. I wanted to mention a book to you that has been a great ally to me through the years. It's called Staying Healthy with the Seasons, and I'm realizing that this is mirrored, so it's showing up backwards for you. But this is a wonderful book. This book was actually my grandmother's book that was given to my mom, that was then given to me. And so I grew up, like my mom would go to this book. And so now I go to this book whenever there's a season question, or whenever I have, when I'm looking for inspiration for what to do in any particular season. And this comes from a medical doctor who's also a trained Chinese medicine doctor and acupuncturist. What I love about this book is the artwork. Let me just show you this beautiful picture for late summer. See if it'll come into focus. There we go. So the detailed line work of, look at these apple trees just in their fullness. The sun is at high noon. It's shining down, but there's some clouds that are in. And this book will go through the acupuncture meridian lines. It tells you about the specific Chinese characters and elements. It goes through vegetables and foods that are good combinations for this time of year. It goes through mudras and hand symbols and practices you can do on yourself or on other people for supporting digestion and keeping your digestive fire strong and assessing your own state of vitality going into the winter. It tells you to stay away from sugar and alcohol and caffeine. And then it goes through herbs that you can use. And then just these beautiful charts that are very helpful. So if you don't have this book, this is you can probably find it on Amazon. I think it was published in 1981 or something like that. It was in the early 80s. So this can be a great guide through all of the seasons. So let's talk about food for a minute, because that's a really important piece of preparing the body. So in high summer, the element is fire, and our digestion is probably doing really well. We're eating the smoothies, we're eating cold salads, we're eating dairy and milk. So we're eating things that are naturally cooling on the body. They're either cold in their temperature or they're cooling energetically in the body. But as we move into late summer, we want to start to transition out those cooling foods. So now we put the blender away, no more smoothies. Instead, we're going to maybe do soups and start introducing broths. And I've been drinking a lot more herbal teas and doing warm teas now that I'm making this transition. You can also think about sweet root vegetables that are starting to come into ripeness, like carrots and beets and radishes. Anything that's like, an earthy root vegetable, squash. If you grow squash, you've got a lot of squash. So any kind of squash that is growing right now, we should be eating that and cooking that and either baking it, putting it in soups. There's lots of different ways, stir fry, grill, but you want to be really eating things that have that heavy, earthy, nourishing flavor and sweet flavor, and then the rich colors to it too. So we're moving into more oranges and yellows and deep purples, those colors of autumn. So that's really important, because if we keep eating cold foods and salads through the late summer, and then all of a sudden it starts getting cold, and then we switch to warm foods, it's going to be too late. So we need to keep our digestive fire really strong by keeping it warm, by keeping the solar plexus warm. And that leads me to the next thing, which is clothing. You'll notice I'm wearing a scarf today, and this is on purpose, because in the late summer, when the temperatures are fluctuating, especially when there's wind, even if it's warm wind, wear a scarf. And I learned this. Who did I learn this from? I think it was James Snow when I was at Maryland University of Integrative Health. He said in Chinese medicine, they believe that the wind carries spirits, and they call them wind dragons. And that when the wind hits the back of your neck, it weakens your chi or your life force. And the same thing with your belly and your low back, that you always want to keep those areas covered from the wind. And again, this, even right now, it's warm-ish wind, but it's wind nonetheless. And so if we think about wind as energy moving through, it can kind of take our energy with it. So late summer is a good time to start wearing scarves. And, I'm in Minnesota. It's maybe 70 degrees today at the most. So this is like a cotton hand woven scarf, but you might even do a silk scarf if it's still pretty warm. But once you start to feel those winds coming in, protect yourself. No more tankinis, no more tank tops. Wear full clothes, protect yourself. And one of the things I've started doing that my acupuncturist actually recommended is I've got a warm pack, and I stick it in the microwave. I think it's filled with barley or rice. And I stick it in the microwave for about a minute, and then I fall asleep with it on my belly. And that keeps my digestion warm. It's been really helping with some cold stagnation that I've had digestively. So that's something that you can do too, is just have a warm pack Put that on your belly. Another Ayurvedic practice is body or belly oiling. So you can take olive oil or castor oil, really any oil, warm it up slightly. I have this like cute little cast iron skillet that I found at a antique store, thrift store. And so I'll warm up a little bit of sesame or just any oil, warm that up just so it's a little bit warmer than your body, and then rub that in your belly button and rub that around your belly. And that will also protect the vital force in your digestive system and keep you strong and digesting well, because part of what can get us sick and compromise our immune system is when our digestive system goes off. So, is my microphone not sounding great? Oh dear. Let's see. Let me change. Does that sound better, everyone? I'm not sure what it might be, but maybe I'm just, my Italian hands are going, maybe I'm moving my hands too much. Oh dear. It might be the live stream too. It might just be the quality. So I apologize if it's scratchy. Let me check my mic and see if there's anything I can do over here. Janelle, does it sound scratchy to you as well? Hi, Monica. Yeah, I don't know at this point. Once I'm in the stream, I don't think I can actually change it. So sorry, I'll do my best. It is incredibly scratchy. It might be the live stream. Incredibly scratchy. That's not okay. All right. Well, I don't know what else to do. Do we have any like high-tech friends who might be able to troubleshoot this with me? Monica says it's okay. So it's okay in Australia, but maybe here in the US it's not. Oh dear. Okay. We'll just roll with it. How about that? Okay. So the wind dragons, cover your neck, cover your belly, cover your low back, and keep your digestive system and keep your belly warm. Awesome. And then I wanted to talk about herbs, because this is one of my favorite things to talk about. And probably one of the reasons you're tuning in is like, Ashley, tell me what to take. What are the herbs I should be taking now? So once you get your food and your clothing in order, you're getting good sleep, then herbs are a great addition to that. And right now, we should all be taking adaptogens. So these are deep immune tonics. I'm not talking about something that's going to be an immune stimulant, like echinacea is more of like a stimulant. That's later in the game if you start to get a scratchy throat and you feel like, oh, I think I'm starting to get sick. I've been exposed to something. But before any of that happens, we should be taking deep immune tonics and adaptogenic herbs, which are going to build our resilience, build our deep immunity, and build our nervous system resilience. So these are herbs like one of my favorites I brought. This is American ginseng. It's going to come into focus. This is from Galen's Way. So if any of you are registered herbalists with the American Herbalist Guild, or you are a licensed acupuncturist, you can order directly from Galen's Way at wholesale discount prices, which is really helpful. And Matthew Prisco was my medicine making teacher when I was in herb school. He makes really, really good medicines. So this one's from Galen's Way, but you can obviously find American ginseng from other sources. I love this one because of all the ginsengs. So there's Chinese ginseng, there's Siberian ginseng, which isn't really a ginseng, but it's kind of, they call it Siberian ginseng or eleuthero. And then there's American. I like American the most because it is the most gentle and sweet and nourishing of those three ginsengs. And Phyllis Light, who's an herbalist out of Arab, Alabama, she said that it's probably one of her best resilience building tonics that most people tolerate very, very well. And it is an herb that is considered to be a protected herb right now by United Plant Savers. But there are tons of people that are growing it and harvesting it ethically and doing a great job at growing it in forested areas. So seek out a reputable source that is doing ethical growing and harvesting, and use it. Use this native medicine. It's native to the Appalachians. If you live in Australia, you can still buy American ginseng. It's Panax quinquefolius is its Latin name. You could also use the Chinese ginseng, but it's more heating and more stimulating. So if you already run a little bit warm and if you're already a little stimulated, then it might be too stimulating. And I personally, as someone who I tend to run a little bit on the warmer side, I tend to more towards irritation than depression tissue state. I find that it's just perfect. Like it doesn't sedate me. It doesn't cool me down too much, but it's very deeply nourishing. So that's one thing. And if you don't want to go with the ginsengs, ashwagandha can be a really nice, deep immune adaptogen. Another really wonderful Chinese herb is astragalus. And that one you can find all over the world. It's a very popular, well popularized herb. So you can take it. I prefer it as a tincture. You can cook it as a tea. I'm talking about astragalus now. But a tincture works really, really well if you get a good high quality tincture. So, as with everything in life, quality matters. So seek out a good quality source. But astragalus and American ginseng, I take them every morning and evening. So personally, I take 3 droppers full of American ginseng when I wake up and when I go to bed, along with other herbs I take for my own, personal health balance. But another thing that I'm doing right now too that you might want to do is add mushrooms, add medicinal mushrooms, adaptogenic mushrooms. So right now I'm taking 2 capsules of reishi from, who is it from? Oh, I can see it in my head. Who are the wonderful Paul Stamets mushroom guys? Somebody will put it in the chat box. um, but Host Defense, thank you. So I'm taking Host Defense. There's also a wonderful brand that I have used for years. I just ran out, but they're called Mushroom Harvest, and they were recently purchased by Gaia Herbs. They make a really nice 12 mushroom blend. So what I do is I will take a whole bottle of reishi, then I'll take a whole bottle of the 12 mushroom blend, and then I'll take a whole bottle of like lion's mane. So I rotate my mushrooms. So basically every 30 days, I buy a 1-month supply, and every 30 days, I switch them just to keep my immune system and my body responsive to what I'm taking. But a month is a long enough time to be building some really good, deep reserves. And last year, I had the worst year of sickness, I think, of my life. I had pneumonia and bronchitis, and I was just catching everything. So this year, and I was really depleted, I think, too. Lots of just stresses and things going on that were beyond my control. So this year, I'm like, no, ma'am. I am taking all precautions. I'm really going to take good care of myself because now is the time where I'm built. It's like they say in winter, you build your summer body. Well, in late summer, you build your winter immune system. So now is the time to really get that going. Four Sigmatics is another great brand. I've used them as well. So the Four Sigmatics makes really nice mushroom teas that are powdered that you can just throw into a mug with some hot water. They have a chai latte with mushrooms, and they've got a hot cocoa with mushrooms. So if you're on the go and you just want a mushroom drink, those are really nice to have with you. I also wanted to mention some supplements that I think are worth taking now as well, and zinc is one. This is not a brand that it's just whatever I picked up. But I think taking zinc citrate and starting with 30 milligrams a day right now is a really good idea. Zinc has been correlated to immune system activity, and having enough zinc in your system can really make you less susceptible to getting colds and flus. So you can start taking your zinc now. Also, make sure you're getting enough vitamin D. These are the drops that I use with my kids. These are just vitamin D3 drops in a glycerate base. And so these are for kids, but we should all be making sure we're getting vitamin D for the immune system. And then elderberry is also really a nice supplement to add in as a syrup. And I really like Honey Farms. I think it's called Apiary or Honey Gardens. That's what they're called. And they have an oxymel that they sell at a lot of Whole Foods across North America. You can also make your own. It's really easy to make your own elderberry syrup. So elderberry syrup would also be something to get on rotation. And when my kids start school next week, they'll start taking a tablespoon of that every day before they leave the house. They're already taking the zinc, they're already taking the vitamin D, and then we'll start the elderberry. How much zinc for an 11-year-old? I would say 15. I would go with 15 milligrams would be fine. Um, and just do that once a day, in the morning if you can. So those are some supplements that are really good. I also wanted to bring in one of my favorite native herbs, which is bee balm. This is a tincture I made. I think I made this one last year. Yeah. Monarda fistulosa. And this is a native plant to the Midwest, but it grows, I grew it in Maryland, so it can grow along the East Coast. It's basically wild oregano, and it is so good for tickly throats. You can take it with echinacea. It works really well in combination with echinacea at the first signs of a cold. So I'll take equal parts lemon balm or bee balm and echinacea once I start to get that little bit of postnasal drip where my kids start complaining of a scratchy throat. And then I also will just take bee balm immersed, throughout any given day. I might just take a few droppers full because it's a very aromatic warming herb and it's very boosting to the immune system. It thins mucus, which is really good for just sort of keeping things moving, keeping stagnation from setting in, and keeping your digestive fire strong. So if you have bee balm near you or you can get your hands on some, I know my friends at Strobe Apothecary in Maryland just got a huge batch of Monarda fistulosa or bee balm dried in stock. So you can go to strobeapothecary.com and either pick it up in person or they'll ship it to you too. And I saw a picture of it and I was like, that is some good looking bee balm because it should be bright green leaves and purple flowers when they dry. They should not be like brown. They should be purple. These were bright purple flowers. So that's a really nice herb. I also use bee balm dried to cook with. So in place of oregano, I season my fish and chicken. I season my vegetables with dried bee balm, just that I picked from the garden. So it's a really, really nice one. Um, and then I think the last thing I wanted to share before I opened it up to some questions is this delicious rooibos chai blend by Blue Lotus. So this is a really tasty powdered chai blend that's non-caffeinated. So my kids and I drink this with some almond or oat milk, and it comes with the cutest little spoon. I have to say, I think this is one of the reasons why I keep buying it too, because look, isn't that cute? So it gives you they give you this cute little spoon, and then you can just scoop up a little bit and mix it in with some hot water, and then you can froth in some milk. And chai tea is such a great way of keeping your body strong. It increases circulation. So if you tend to get cold hands and feet during the autumn, start drinking chai now. It has cinnamon, cloves, what else? Ginger, cardamom, black pepper, nutmeg, and rooibos powder. So this is a really nice one. And you can make your own chai blend as well. But this would be something you could start today that would keep your system strong and warm. Let me just check my notes, make sure I covered everything. Oops, I did. And then I guess the other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is something that I've been working on personally that I'm really excited about and wanted to share with you, which is my year 2 herbal apprenticeship course. So if you haven't heard of my training courses, I offer a year 1 course that covers kind of the basics of herbalism, and then a year 2 course, which is just launching. It's been completely revamped. I've been working on it over the last year and a half, which is a more interactive experience of working with plants for yourself and teaching you how to integrate herbs into your community, which is the part that I'm most excited about because to me, I think it's because I have so many planets in my 10th and 11th houses. I've got lots of Aries energy and Taurus energy in my 10th and 11th houses. So like to me, my work here is about building bridges, building community um, around things that are earthy and good for the planet. So I'm really excited to show people how I created community, how I've built, I mean, it's small. It's my own little, sweet little community, but how I've done it, how I've maintained it, because sometimes it's easy to build something, but it's harder to maintain it. So I'll be sharing with you step by step how to grow your own herbal community, how to foster it. I've got some great books and resources for you to read, and we'll discuss them together. And then you'll be practicing how to make herbal blends for yourself. And this is also, it's like you can't, my teachers that I have loved most dearly have been the ones who've gone through pretty intense either health or personal circumstances and took what they learned from that and used that to teach. And I do think that a lot of us do our best work when it's personal, right? Like if you're trying to share something with someone and you've had a personal experience with it, it's going to be so much more compelling for you to share that if you've experienced it. And so in the course, we've developed all of these different um, prompts, like personal prompts, like look at your heart, look at your emotional state, and let's do some research. Let's look at the tissue states. Let's talk about herbs that are for the heart and that are for grief and that are for loss and that are for heartache. And let's have you create a formula that's going to support yourself in that particular corner of your life. And then you'll have Janelle and I. Janelle's my teaching assistant who's just graduated from acupuncture school. Congratulations, Janelle. And she was a student of mine many years ago and has been my teacher assistant for, I guess this is our second year together. So Janelle will be there too to just support looking over these formulas. And there's nothing better than feeling a formula work in your body and being like, whoa, these herbs work. They actually work, and so you'll have that experience. And that my hope is just that you'll be able to feel the herb, like formulate, feel, experience, and then share. So if you're interested, I can answer more questions about that. And maybe Janelle can pop the link to the Year 2 apprenticeship in the chat box. Now I just want to open it up for talking because I like people. I like you all. And I think sitting together, even if it's online, um, is important. I think it's important to just hold and share space together. So I want to know what your questions are. What's on your heart and mind? What plants have you been interested in or curious about? Do you have any favorite fall practices, rituals, or late summer activities that prepare you for fall that you'd like to share? And we can just start filling the chat box, and then I will go through it and try to find everyone's input and then answer them and comment on them. So let's see here. So Carlina asks, is American ginseng safe for people with bipolar disorder? Um, hmm. I mean, it depends. There's always a concern with medications. So if people are taking medications for bipolar disorder, you'd want to look into those specific medications and um, American ginseng and just see if there's any known contraindications. Um, but if there's not medications and it's something that's being managed, um, I don't see why not. I mean, I don't think of it as it's not a hypnotic, so it doesn't alter, it doesn't alter your perception. Um, it's not a stimulant, so it's not like a Panax ginseng, which is a very strong stimulant. It's not like caffeine or, anything like that. So I wouldn't be too worried about it. But I think, if you're working with and living with bipolar, I think it's always really wise to start slow with things. So if you're feeling drawn towards American ginseng, but you're not 100% sure if it's a good fit and you're not working with a clinical herbalist, then maybe you just start with 3 to 5 drops and just do that for like a week and just see, how does my body respond to this input? Because it's input. And sometimes people with bipolar, they're very sensitive. My best friend in the whole world lives with bipolar, and she's a sensitive soul. And so she doesn't need much of herbs, and she doesn't need much of anything to be able to feel it. So that if that's true for you, then you might also take smaller doses and just see over time, maybe building towards a dose that hits you where you want to be hit. And it is cumulative. So American ginseng for me and my body, I notice it after 3 days. I just feel more grounded and more emotionally and energetically stable. For some people, it can take longer. It can take like a month of taking it, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm feeling really steady in myself again." Let's see. Do you think dosage of herbal remedies needs to be different for older individuals, say 70 or older? That's a great question, Janet. I mean, I think dosage needs to be different for every single person. I don't think I know in herbal medicine we have standard dosage. And that's always been a little bit of a tricky thing because I've seen in my practice different doses working completely differently for people of all ages. But it usually boils down to constitution type. So that's the pattern I've noticed, is that people that tend to be a little bit more like sensitive, um, people who tend to be a little bit more on the dry side, a little bit more on the hot side, tend to be more reactive. So, hot, dry types, I tend to move a little bit more cautiously with. Whereas my cold, damp, heavy, sluggish types, I can usually push a little bit more. They're less reactive, and usually there's more things we need to clear out. So dosing them with something like a nettles infusion or like, stronger herbs that are going to help move the energy, sometimes I have to push them a little more. But it depends what herb it is. It depends who the 70-year-old is, because I know some 70-year-olds that are like biking marathons, and they're not more sensitive than someone else. So I think that's more the question I would ask, is what is their sensitivity level rather than specifically looking at age. I hope that's helpful. So Jenna is sharing some of her faves with us. She says weighted blanket and morning journaling with tea, outside if possible, as early in the morning as I can, is especially therapeutic for me in early autumn, and sweaters in late August. Oh yeah, very, very nice. Yeah, weighted blankets are wonderful. And I mentioned that you can put like a heated pack on your stomach at night when you're sleeping. I also wear my slippers. I probably wear my slippers most of the year, but I get especially excited to keep my feet warm as the temperature starts to dip. So I actually, if I have my slippers on right now, I haven't put on my had to put on shoes. So I'm just wearing my slippers as I walk around, because you do lose heat through your feet and through the top of your head, which is why in the old days they would wear caps to bed. They would have nightcaps. I feel like they should bring those back. Don't you think? They're so cute, like the long nightcaps with like the long thing on the side. But you lose heat through your head and your feet. So as you're moving about in your house, if your house is cold, put on a little beanie cap and put on some socks or slippers. Um, and I love, Jenna, your suggestion of journaling, right? If we don't slow down and check in with how we're doing, then we're much less likely to catch when we're getting depleted. And when we're in that reflective state, to me, you're more open to seeing signs and receiving insights for what can be supportive. If you're just like blinders on and moving forward 100 miles an hour, you're going to likely miss a lot of subtle cues from your body, from the environment, from other people. So taking that reflective time, especially in the morning to start your day, to just tap in and ask yourself, hey, Jenna, how are you doing today? How are you feeling? The thing that was bothering you yesterday, how are you feeling about it today? What foods would be good for you? in your body today, right? And asking those questions can be a great way to set yourself up for success. Carlina says, thank you. Also, if I already have excess heat in my digestive system, is it okay to still support my digestive fire? I tend towards pitta constitution. I think it's always a good idea to support the fire, but you might not need as much kindling, right? Like a person that tends more towards more cold digestion, they're going to need more of that heat. But if you already run, like your core of your body is already pretty warm, then you would not go as hard towards the warm things. I still wouldn't be eating cold foods right now for you. I would still follow the food guidelines and warm food guidelines in this time of year, but you might not need the chai tea or the warm pack on your belly like other constitutionally cooler people might. What is good to include in our fall herb garden? That's a great question. I mean, it's a little late for planting, but things that will do well in these later months that I really love just to see are marigolds. Marigolds do really well in the autumn, and they have that bright yellow and orange color, and their fragrance keeps away bugs and mosquitoes. So those are really nice ones to plant for their beauty and their aroma. They also are wonderful altar plants. So if you have an altar practice, then those flowers can be placed on the altar, and those were used, in Mexico for the Day of the Dead ceremonies, and also used in India for a lot of their ceremonial. You'll see the garlands with the marigolds. So I think marigold would be one. If I was going to plant anything right now, I'd probably go towards towards those. What else? You can put some roots in. If you went to strictlymedicinal.com, maybe it's .org, but Strictly Medicinal is an herb company. They sell all organic heirloom varieties of medicinal plants and vegetables. And you can get some roots, fall, this late summer, you can get some roots established, which will then start to grow in the early spring of next year. So that would be something. My gardens, I typically don't plant in the fall. So I'm probably not the best person to ask. I'm more of the spring, get everything in type of planter. But this time of year, if you have planted mints, like actually this time of the year is when you should harvest everything. Like you should be very, very busy right now, gathering all of your lemon balm, gathering all of your peppermint, gathering all of your oregano, thyme, rosemary. Like you should be cutting and drying and cutting and drying, or cutting and tincturing. Like this is go time. Yeah. Thanks so much. I'm reminded to start with less and add more. That's always that holds up, doesn't it, Janet? Yeah, that's always true. It really is. And also, I didn't say this, but this is something that you might be finding yourself wanting to do too, which is fall cleaning. How many of you are starting to go through your closets and get rid of things, or going just looking around and being like, I need to clean. I need to purge. It's time to sort and get rid of things. So that might be something also that's a really nice activity to do before the weather drops. I just washed all of our all of our bath mats in our bathroom and hung them outside on the clothesline to dry, because this is the time to do it when you have all, this heat to dry out your rugs and mats and things like that. So that's another really nice preparatory activity. Time to phase out popsicles. I'm sorry. I don't know where you live, Carlina, but you might still have more time. But, I would say phasing out is a good idea, even if you live in a very warm climate. Just, starting to think about what are the teas that you can start to add in. Yeah. Thank you, Janelle, Wild Edge Spark, for adding in the different ginseng names. So if you were curious about the different Latin names of the ginsengs I mentioned, Wild Edge Spark put those into the chat box so you can see those there. Oh, Carlina, that's right. You're from Minnesota. So you're right here. Yeah, girl, I'm sorry. Popsicles. I mean, not this week, it's going to be cool. It's going to be like low 70s most of the week. So we're up north. So we're starting to, it's starting to shift already. My maples are starting to change. So the goldenrod is almost finished. So we are definitely really going closer and closer towards autumn. So, yeah, I mean, that brings us to about an hour. If there aren't any other questions, um, I'll just kind of reiterate just a few key points for those of you that might be joining a little bit late. So, as we transition from late summer into autumn, we want to be building warmth in our system, building in more rest, starting to declutter our spaces. Wear scarves, cover your neck, cover the back, the front of your throat, the back of your neck from the wind, cover your belly and low back from the wind, because that can be very depleting for our vital force. Add in zinc, add in your medicinal mushrooms like reishi and lion's mane and cordyceps. Add in your adaptogens like astragalus and ashwagandha and your ginsengs. Um, and yeah, just pay attention. I love Jenna's idea of like, wake up a little earlier and journal and touch in. How am I feeling? What do I need? And if you can just ask those two questions every day, you'll be ahead of you'll be ahead of the game because you'll have tapped in and you'll be able to anticipate what might be coming next for you. And then lastly, year 2 course is starting next month. So if you've already been studying herbs for a while, maybe you've taken my year 1 course, or if you've taken another year long or any sort of kind of intro to herbs and you know maybe 25 plants pretty well, you understand energetics, hot, cold, damp, and dry, and you have a pretty good sense of plant actions and dosing, then you are likely eligible for the year 2, which it's a very personal way of looking at building community in herbalism, building your own formulas, learning how to really custom formulate, maybe even sell your own products one day. We'll talk through kind of the legal parts of running your own herb business, and then seeing clients. And if you're interested in learning more about what does it mean to be a clinical herbalist and what do I need to know, we'll cover the basics of tongue diagnosis, looking and reading the elements through your senses, and also some basic clinical skills for how to do an intake and how to really sit and receive information and then compile it together for a client. So those are kind of the 3 main branches. And again, all of that detail is on the website, skyhouseherbs.com. So hop over there, have a look. And both Janelle and I are available to answer any questions that you might have about the course. Also, once this course is launched, I'll start doing my speaker series again. So stay tuned in 2026 for guest speakers and webinars that will run live on the, I think we're going to run it maybe Tuesday nights. So it'll be like evenings. So you can join live to learn more from other herbalists in the field as well. All right, friends. Well, with that, I thank you for your time. Thank you for being here with me and with the group, with each other, talking about how do we keep ourselves nourished and well and healthy. And I wish you a lovely, easy transition. Savor today, savor the veggies, savor yourself, savor all that is in front of you right now. And that will prepare you best for what's ahead. All right. Till we meet again. Bye, everyone.